Hello there, this is Ajit Navlaka, and in today's video, we are talking about how you can help your clients change their language to change their reality. I'm going to give you some coaching questions, some language patterns that you can observe in your client's life. And once you observe them and direct them towards a more positive, more affirmative language that helps them change their narrative and hence change their actions to lead to more positive outcomes in their lives. Now, before I get into the positive outcomes you can create in your client's life, let me talk a little bit about how you can create more positive outcomes in your own life. And that is by hitting that red subscribe button and that bell icon if you haven't already done that. Now that we have that out of the way, I want to talk about how language impacts our reality and also share with you some of the words that you may be using, your clients may be using, that if you can turn around, you will be able to get more positive outcomes for yourself and for your clients. A very popular narrative that you may have heard of before is thoughts become things. And thoughts do become things, but there's a process to thoughts becoming things. And if we can change that process a little bit or impact that process a little bit, we can even change our thoughts and also change the things that may happen in our lives. So let's take an example. Let's say you have a thought. You have a thought about how something is not working out, or a circumstance happens in your life and you feel like things are not working out. What would happen as an immediate next step is you would start to say things that reflect on that thought. If, say, for example, a client chooses to take the free session and never sign up with you, you may say things like, are my potential clients never sign up with me? Or, oh, that was just a bad coaching session. Or nobody signs up for coaching sessions these days. Or whatever that may be. Those thoughts are becoming language patterns. This is very common, especially in the coaching world. If you're a new coach, very often I hear new coaches say things like, coaching is difficult. Building a business in coaching is difficult. Oh, how do I really enroll clients? I'm not a salesperson. All of these language patterns are a reflection of how you're thinking about something. And now these language patterns that you have are creating actions in your life. So say, for example, you constantly tell yourself, enrolling clients is difficult. How do I find clients? We are right now in a situation where we don't go to workshops and we are not going to meetings. If that is the case, and that is the language that you're using again and again, guess what's happening is actions. You are constantly not taking an action towards creating a better future. You're not motivating yourself because your language is establishing your negative thinking, or your thinking that is stopping you from creating action. And now when you don't take actions, of course, you don't have any consequences or results that happen in life, which brings you more negative thoughts, impacts your language pattern even worse. And now you're constantly creating this cycle of a downward spiral, thinking that the business is not going to work out. You may find similar patterns when you're working with your clients. You will find that a lot of clients get stuck in a rut. They get stuck in a rut because they constantly think that something is not going to work out. This is especially true if they're currently experiencing a challenge. So recently I was talking to a company that we wanted to bring on board to be able to support them build their business. It's a fantastic product, fantastic company. And as I was speaking with this particular client, one of the business partners constantly kept going back on how things have not worked out in the past for them, on how they have tried different marketing strategies that don't work out, or how talent really doesn't stick with them, or how things or products doesn't really work out in their field, and there is just one product and one product only that could work. And as he was speaking, I could spot that he has this constant language pattern that is influenced by his past experiences of life, of something not working out. And that something not working out is carried forward and has become perpetuated because of the language pattern that they have constantly repeated for themselves, thinking that's just how things are. But like thoughts impact everything that we do in life, our language is something that propagates those thinking again and again and again. It reminds us of how things don't work out or how things may or may not be. And if we're not cautious about it, our language sometimes becomes the influence of our thoughts, which also brings me to something that you can use to change your client's life. You see, our thoughts influence our language, but our language also influences our thoughts. if you are more affirmative in their language, if you're more positive, if you use more and instead of an are, you are more likely to be more affirmative with life. You'll start to believe that things will happen more for positive reasons, and you will expect more positive outcomes, which changes your actions and your thinking at the same time. And because your actions become more positive focused, you get more positive outcomes. Because your thinking switches to more positive thinking, you also start to see more positive thoughts coming towards that particular thing that otherwise was restricted with your negative thinking or with thinking that is not helpful to you in creating progress in your life. So I want to share with you some language patterns that you may observe in your client's life or in your life, and some of the alternatives that you can choose to have so you can turn your life around by simply switching your language. Now, I'm going to discuss only about 5 of these switch arounds. We've actually created a small PDF for you that you can quickly download below this video with about 30 of such language patterns that you may observe in your clients' lives. These 30 patterns were found by Christy Whitman, who's our latest author on evercoach.com. We are so excited to have created Spiritual Life Coach with Christy Whitman because she is a masterful spiritual life coach. She integrates spirituality and life coaching in such a unique, powerful, pragmatic way that anybody that is interested in creating a holistic impact in their client's life can take the benefit of Spiritual Life Coach. So once you're done watching the entire video, go ahead and download all 30 language patterns that you would want to switch around. And also do consider looking at Spiritual Life Coach, because Spiritual Life Coach might be the training you need to elevate your coaching practice. Now let's get into some common language patterns. The first language pattern that I want you to be mindful of or to look out for is when we use the word need to. You see, very often we are trained in this world to need to do things. But when we say need to something, it also means that we don't have a choice. And when as human beings, we don't feel the choice of having something, we feel constrained, we feel restricted, we feel like there is only that much that can go around or that much that we can do. Need to may be true when you were struggling for food and shelter. But if you have those basic needs met, you want to do things and you want to create those choices in your life. Which is why if you or your clients are using need to very frequently in your conversation or in a particular area of life, I invite you to ask your client to give a consideration to switch need to for want to. Because you want to do things, you want to create things, you want to have progress, you want to fulfill your desires. You don't need to. There is no restriction. It's not a do or die situation where you need to do something. You can want to do something, and that creates availability, that creates expansion, that invites more of what else can be there, right? And you want that when you are pursuing a direction, when you're pursuing something that maybe already is a little bit difficult. You don't want to feel limited or feel like you're constrained or restricted to be able to create from a place of power. You want to create from a place of power. The second language pattern that can be wildly hurtful is if somebody uses the word always. Is it really true that things that we say always happen actually always happen? You see, very many times you would see, especially when there is a conflict, you might have found yourself or your clients may have found themselves saying always all the time. You always do this. You always are late. You always don't deliver to your promises. You always mess this up. Well, firstly, it's not even true. If you really inquire yourself on those situations, you will find that there's sometimes that some things don't work out the way they need to work out. But because we're in the heat of the moment and because we want to rationalize it, we use the word always. But when we use the word always, we take away our capability of being able to have that fluidity that we need to be able to create from. We start to make somebody as the bad person because they're always doing something. They're not always doing something. Switch that always to sometimes. That allows and gives us the permission of saying that as much as the person may be wrong more frequently, they're not always wrong, which gives us the space for forgiveness. And forgiveness not only for another person. If you're talking to yourself and you're using the word always again and again and again, you're telling yourself a story that is not even true, but you're repeating it again and again and again and giving yourself that identity that you don't need. You need an identity that is empowering. You need an identity that understands that mistakes happen and that there will be mistakes in life, but that doesn't mean that's your identity. That just is a thing that happens. And so switch always for sometimes. Sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes you make a mistake. Sometimes it is not correct what you do. Sometimes you don't show up on time, and sometimes the sales call don't go the way they want to go or it should go. And that's okay. This makes sure that you're not constantly blaming yourself for something that's just not true. The third language switch I want you to have is, instead of saying, I can't afford, say, I prefer not to invest in this right now. The reason why we want you to switch over from I can't afford to I prefer to not invest in this right now is because when you say I can't afford, you're coming from a place of lack. You're sending the message to the universe that you don't have something. Instead of that, you say, I prefer not to invest in this right now. It switches you from a place of lack to a place of possibilities in the future. And possibilities in the future is way more powerful a place to operate from instead of a place of lack. So switch I can't afford to I prefer to not invest in this right now. This will allow you to have more expansion and allow for more abundance to flow through you, as the message or the language that you're using is much more abundance focused than lack focused. Another language pattern that you want to be careful of is to not use the words I shouldn't have. Instead, choose my experience of this is X, or I learned X from this. The reason why we want to switch the pattern of I shouldn't have to I learned X from this is because very often we are so wired to focus on mistakes that we would go immediately to patterns like, oh, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that, oh, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. And because of that, we are only focusing our energy towards what we shouldn't do and what's the mistake and what's the wrong in that entire sequence of things. Instead, what if we switch the pattern to my learning from X is? And this will basically focus your attention towards the learning, towards the growth, toward the progress that is in life. And that will allow you to move forward towards something that's more progressive. So switch your language from I shouldn't have to I learned X from it. Now, these were just a few language switches that you can do, words that you say normally, and you can switch them around and have a more positive, more affirmative, more abundant terminology and words. There are several others that you could be switching around for yourself and for your clients, which is why I'm making this very special PDF that we took permission from Christy Whitman to share with you as a part of introduction to what you will learn as a spiritual life coach. As a spiritual life coach, you're going to learn so many amazing techniques on how you can integrate spirituality and psychology to become a spiritual life coach and create a more holistic impact in your client's life. So go ahead, download these 30 words that you want to watch for and turn it around in your life, in your client's life, to bring more abundance, to bring more flow, to bring more spirituality, to bring more connection with the universe. Which of the words that we shared today you find your clients saying very often? I'd love to hear what are the most common words out of these words that your clients tend to say. So leave me a comment below in the comment section so I can learn more about what are those words that are really creating the negative spiral in your client's life. I am sure you'll love this video, so don't mind it. Just hit that like button so we know that you appreciate these videos that we are sharing with you on a weekly basis. And for whatever reason, if you've decided not to subscribe just yet, take the extra 5 seconds, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon so you can get a notification every single week as we release new videos. Share this video with a friend or a client that can really use this information and insight. And do not forget to hit that like button. Thank you so much for watching. This is Ajit Nawalkar, and you're watching this on Ever Coach.